Mr. Investor, welcome back to the channel, baby. Bingo Cowboy's been asking me where you been at, Big Daddy. I've been chasing that bag. I've been buying up bionano genomics stock. I was working as a C19 Schwabber, helping people go on their travel holidays. So within this video, I'm going to be covering what professionals are thinking about optical genome mapping, how optical mapping has found new genomic disorders, England's plan for rare disease, and some articles on bionano genomics, as well as the big plan. I'm trying to figure out what are these guys going for. If they're not going to be profitable anytime soon, and they put it in their last statement, they might never be profitable in the foreseeable future. Are they going for a buyout? Are they looking to be acquired? And I was looking at expenditure, and I was looking at why is there so much money in finished goods? Is there a lot of Saphyrs that have already been sold, but they haven't been able to install them because we had some weak installations in the last quarter? I'm also going to be talking about how bionano genomics operates and how they under-promise and over-deliver. Let's also look at one of the bionano genomics files in the last quarter and how they were speaking about C19 and how it's affected the business. Is it just excuses or is it genuine? Because we've seen this happen across a lot of businesses saying they haven't been able to go to their customers. Some customers are getting C19, others have been unable to be inside the laboratory, inside of the offices. And some of the statements suggest that C19 continues to affect the business even now. We'll also talk about the new jobs springing up in terms of territory manager in the Pacific Northwest region, as well as scouring through LinkedIn and seeing who has been using the machine in the last year or so, what they've been doing with the machines, where they're based, and seeing where the Saphyr is currently being utilized. Now please remember, none of this is financial advice, it's for entertainment only. And if you want to help the channel, you can click join the channel membership button just here on the right. You can select any tier and it really helps us out. We're going full time for this. We want to be scouring, looking for gems, searching up companies that you suggest. And if you haven't subscribed already and you're a fan of the channel and you'd love to join us and be part of our group, please click the subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Now let's get into this juicy video, big boy. Okay, over the last few years we've been hearing about bionano genomics Saphyr and how it can disrupt potentially the cytogenetic industry, how it can replace current workflows, how it can be cheaper, faster, more accurate, and find out mysteries. And it's not just me saying it, this is Radboud's UMC, you can see from the 7th of July 2021, over a year ago, describing optical genome mapping as it's a kind of cytogenetics on steroids because of its power and speed, saying that, you know, they can automatically, objectively, and digitally record DNA at a rapid pace, at a resolution that's 10,000 times higher than in karyotyping. When they describe it as it's something that could be revolutionary, they say, I think it could be the most significant technological breakthrough in the history of cytogenetics since the CNV microarray, and this was El Khattabi. As we know, they've been focusing on two main areas. One of them is blood cancers, the other one is rare disease, and they say optical genome mapping promises to greatly improve cytogenetic testing in patients with hematological malignancies. And that statement was given by Dr. Marianne Stevens-Crowe, clinical laboratory geneticist for hematological malignancies, blood cancers. So all of that's fair and dandy, but is it being implemented? Is it being utilized by people looking for, you know, hematological malignancies? Are they using it to search for, you know, blood cancer and use it for testing patients and seeing if it's better for the workflow? Well, we don't play. OMG, it's OGM in Australia. Yes, actually in Australia, it says here the NSW Health Pathology Bionano Saphyr Evaluation. This is being presented currently in the last 6 days or so over at ASDG in Sydney. What the heck is ASDG, baby? It's the Australasian Society of Diagnostic Genomics. And what's interesting to see is if you go through some of these slides that I found from Kylie Sanders over here, I think he's a BNGO employee. We look at the participating sites and we zoom into this presentation, we can see here John Hunter. And they've got a Saphyr directed right there at John Hunter. The NSW in this corner, by the way, NSW Health Pathology. According to Google, Ministry of Health, NSW, the New South Wales Ministry of Health, branded NSW Health is a ministerial department of the New South Wales government. Okay. And what we saw on that slide, this a funky looking building, is actually the John Hunter Hospital. It's a pediatric hospital, it looks like. It says it's got a pediatric intensive care unit, but they probably have, you know, this cancer unit within. So it looks like they're piloting, they're test flowing the Saphyr to seeing where it will fit in terms of their workflow. And we can see some other hospitals here and it says the distance between them. So it looks like they collect samples here. Concord Hospital, Prince of Wales over here, Royal North Shore over here, 30 kilometers, 170 kilometers, and they all lead back to John Hunter where the Saphyr is. And you can see here they're also using different techniques. We've got Southern blot over here, whole genome sequencing, fish karyotype microarray, and they all head back to here to see if they can put all of these workflows in one or use this as a complementary device probably. In terms of that key phrase complementary device, there was an article written here by Seeking Alpha. Now these guys over at Seeking Alpha, they can't make out whether bionano genomics is a buy or a sell. Some are for, some are against, some are saying, you know, it's rubbish, some are saying there's going to be no return to investors, others saying it can completely disrupt cytogenetics and actually get something juicy. And when we take a look here, one of the statements made was Saphyr is unlikely to replace gene sequencing systems in hospitals, it's not a sequencer, in research centers because it has fewer use cases, but it could become a must-have complement. So imagine how many, you know, high throughput gene sequencing systems and machines there are throughout the world, and if it becomes a must-have complement to it, you know, when they state in bionano genomics that 10,000 Saphyr systems is at least their kind of target audience, target market, at least, then if this is one-to-one with some of these high throughput sequencers, we could see a lot of Saphyr systems adopted. But right now adoption is slow. We saw 12 installs in the last quarter and it's not acceptable. It's too slow to pace, and a lot of it could be due to C19 and these kinds of reasons, but also it seems like adoption and uptake is quite slow and they're trying to prove still what the system can do, you know, what the Saphyr system is capable of, and the way they're going about it is through studies. Speaking of studies, it looks like optical genome mapping made it into a book that's kind of a little bit pricey. Well, it's £35 here if you were to get a hardback copy, but the ebook is like £120. And what they were discovering or what they were looking at was neurogenetic variant analysis by optical genome mapping. The abstract spoke about, you know, the neurodevelopmental delay and how it has been reportedly be caused by recurrent copy number variants, inversions, translocations, deletions, duplications, and speaking about how optical genome mapping is a new method for analysis of all the classes of structural variants. But what else is new? In the European Journal of Human Genetics, they said what's new in genetics June 2022. It's a very new article. It stated that optical genome mapping has been utilized to define 16p13.11 triplication syndrome, and that over 5% of the genome is composed of segmental duplications, and they stated that with whole genome sequencing alone, these are quite difficult to map. So what is this new 16p13.11p.1122? Well, apparently it's a new recognizable genomic disorder and it's characterized by utilizing optical genome mapping with whole genome sequencing. And within the abstract of the study, they identified that using chromosomal microarray and also the limitations of short reads whole genome sequencing, those two technologies do not allow the full characterization of the most complex chromosomal rearrangements. So they had to use optical genome mapping to determine the relative orientation of the triplicated and duplicated segments, as well as the genomic positions of the breakpoints. Looking at this triplication syndrome, it's a rare chromosomal anomaly syndrome. It's characterized by global developmental delay. There's also some distinctive features on the face, on the nose, on the ears, and some patients are also reported to have tapered fingers. So this is where it's kind of girthy, you know, and it tapers down. So it's not just like a straight finger, it's like girthy here, and slowly the girth decreases as you get down the finger. And with that, let's move swiftly on to, you know, the rare disease plan for the UK, and just seeing the optical genome mapping is solving mysteries. It's able to recognize genomic disorders. But let's see what the UK's been up to in terms of rare disease. If we look down here, the NHS Genomic Medicine Service has carried out over 600,000 genomic tests in England over the last year, many of which are for rare diseases. They've been utilizing the technique whole genome sequencing, and they spoke about how the power of whole genome sequencing has the ability to uncover new diagnoses for people who've been living with rare diseases and have been on this kind of mission to find out what they've got. You know, they've been on this kind of mystery, this kind of diagnostic odyssey to figure out what's wrong with me, what's been going on, why is my body like this, why am I feeling this way, why do I have these kinds of illnesses. And they're on this mission to try and figure out, and they go back and forth to hospital. They could go 20, 30, 50 times in a lifetime just trying to get a diagnosis. So now with the UK ramping up and figuring out, you know, we need to really push for rare disease at the moment and obtain diagnosis, a lot of investment is going there. They're looking into innovation, and we remember when we were seeing the 100,000 Genome Project. This pilot project basically got loads of people within the NHS, the National Health Service. It had all of these participants, these volunteers, and they came forward from 2,183 families, and out of those 2,183 families, 80% of them should theoretically be able to get a genetic diagnosis, so that should be 1,746 cases. However, whole genome sequencing made a diagnosis and only 437 cases were diagnosed. So there was still 1,309 families without a diagnosis. Maybe it's time to look at what Saphyr can add. That was back in November 2021. So with lots of money going into the industry, with them ramping up kind of funding, will Joseph Butler, this guy is the sales manager in the UK for bionano genomics, will this guy manage to make some serious sales or manage to implement, getting the Saphyr into the NHS, getting them into this kind of pilot program? Because right now they're running loads of test pilot programs. They're utilizing different machines to try and be at the forefront of genomics, to try and become the ones who are innovating at the moment. These guys are setting out their ambition to create a patient-centered, pro-innovation and digitally enabled clinical research environment. Now, one of the things I've been looking at is bionano genomics focusing on growth of revenue, right? Getting those installs in there, focusing on growth. But for every quarter, they've estimated that they might not ever be profitable. So what are they hoping for? Are they hoping for a buyout? We can see here the estimation. They've been beating their reported estimates for 2021. For 2022, it's estimated that they might hit about 26 mil, nearly 27 mil in revenue. Will they beat that? And by 2026, it states 301 million in revenue. But if they're not going to be profitable, what are they hoping for? Are they hoping to be acquired? And are they playing the game plan in terms of, scaling up the business, trying to create as much revenue as possible and really branching out, getting into that total addressable market before they make that sale, before they allow themselves to be acquired? Could they possibly be acquired by someone like Illumina? Illumina is known for its mergers and acquisitions, for looking at complementary, innovative kind of devices and technology to actually gaining more income for them. They've had several acquisitions like Bluebee, which is cloud computing capabilities, trying to lower the cost of storing, sharing, and managing enormous volumes of data, which we know we're going to get a lot of from genomics. They also have Enantio and all of these additional acquisitions. So we can count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 acquisitions. Some of these acquisitions were looking into cancer, some were looking into reproductive health. And also with Illumina's whole genome sequencing looking for rare disease, will it be super complementary to utilize a Saphyr alongside this? Because what they're looking for is potential for greater diagnostic yields, improved operational efficiency, and decreased costs. Does Saphyr fit the bill? Everybody's after making these people's lives so much better, saving money as well. Whole genome sequencing can end rare disease diagnostic odysseys. So let me know your thoughts and feelings as well here. Who do you think we'd be acquired by if this was on the cards, and for what kind of premium? In terms of premium, when there's an acquisition, why do acquirers pay a high premium? Typically, an acquiring company will pay an acquisition premium to close a deal or ward off competition. An acquisition premium might also be paid too if the acquirer believes that the synergy created from the acquisition will be greater than the total cost of acquiring the target company. So if they're looking for synergies, whole genome sequencing, optical genome mapping, is it a delicious pair made in heaven? For this new recognizable genomic disorder that they found out, they utilized that match made in heaven, optical genome mapping and whole genome sequencing together. So one of the other things I was looking at is the terminology finished goods. So I was looking through the bionano genomics recent financials that they announced for the first quarter of 2022, and I was looking, I was thinking, is it unfinished goods? And then I looked at finished goods. So these are products that have passed through all phases and are in the final stage and are ready to be consumed or distributed. So if they've got 15 mil or 16 mil worth of goods, the goods that we currently sell are the Saphyr system and the flow cells. So how could you have 16 mil worth of flow cells? A lot of it must be Saphyr systems that are there ready for lease or ready for sale. And if we break down the numbers, just say that there's 15 mil, 16 mil worth. Do you want to know? I want to know exactly how we're gonna get that money, man. So now before we go into that unfinished goods and we make an estimate of how many Saphyr systems we're going to sell for the next year, let's take a look at this first. Let's go a year back, or let's go actually to the last quarter. And with 2021 in that final quarter, they said the installed base is 164, and they exceeded their goal by nearly 10% with optical genome mapping Saphyr systems being adopted. 164 systems overall. So for 2022, by the end of 2022, their guidance, their kind of estimate was 240 Saphyr systems installed worldwide. Now we had this first quarter and it was pretty poor. It looked at, I think it was 12 Saphyr systems that got installed or something like that. Yep, indeed it was 12 systems, because it went from 164 systems to now 176 systems. So that was pretty poor. But we looked inside the financial statement and they said they've been heavily affected by, being unable to fly out, being unable to go to labs, because either their staff in the headquarters or some of their sales staff or their customers' staff as well has been affected by C19. So maybe they're infected, they're in isolation. Some people are working from home, some people haven't returned to the laboratories. And one of the places where their headcount has grown a lot is customer solutions. So this is the team, they said, that installs Saphyr systems, trains lab and data analysis personnel, and supports them as they run and analyze their sample. So if people are catching, C19, and it's actually quite prevalent at the moment, maybe just on the base ground level, because we don't know here here in the UK, they stopped testing here in terms of the general public, so we don't know the exact infection rate. But because I've been working as a schwabber for a private testing company, I know that a lot of people are testing positive at the moment. So every day, if we're doing lateral flow tests, not doing PCR but lateral flows, when we're swabbing these people, we're getting more than ever. We're gonna have to go clean our booth, do deep cleans, because a lot of people are testing positive. And these are people flying back to America as well, because America still requires the need for C19 testing. So when people come into the UK, there's no test required. But when they're flying out from the UK to other countries, people require testing, especially Japan, America, some countries like that. So now, having this kind of Tesla CFO before, they always under promise and over deliver. Here we can see the installed base. They said they were going to have 150. They hit 165, so nearly 10% above. I think it's going to be similar for this year. I think they've just had a slow start to the year, and all those, finished goods, those are lined up sales is what I believe. Now, this is not financial advice. This is just what I believe, because if you had machines and you had created your machines, you have supply chain issues, you wouldn't devote to manufacturing all these machines if you haven't got sales in the pipeline, either sales or leases. So with this year, if these guys don't achieve these 240 Saphyr systems, I'd be very surprised. I think they're going to beat it by possibly 10% as well. So it will be just under 10% or 10%. So we could see 260, 265 systems put in place. But any beat for their estimate would be good. I think they always, under promise, over deliver. Now, that being said, at the end of 2021, they had 164 systems installed. So if we take a look now at the finished goods, with finished goods, we can see here that there's $15.1 million worth of finished goods. They've got some money that they've spent on raw materials, but a lot of it is in finished goods. So finished goods is the product is already finished, it's ready to be distributed. So if you have $15 million worth, you can't have all of that in flow cells. Some of them must be Saphyrs. Punch in some numbers, say best case scenario that this 15 million of it is actually Saphyr systems. $150,000 a pop for a Saphyr system, on an estimate, it could be 100 systems ready to go. With C19, if you type it in, it comes up 49 times in this document. So they're saying that it's affected our operations globally, including the materials, supply chain issues, also staffing issues, including affecting their headquarters in San Diego, California, as well as their business, operations of their research partners, customers, and other third parties whom they conduct business with. As a result, in some cases, we have had to delay instrument installations or service-related visits. So you can see that they've had to delay instrument installations or service-related visits. Now let's go further into the document. A lot of this document is just talking about how C19 has affected the business. It said it's affected their business, the businesses of customers, and lots of the different kind of measurements and lockdown measures. I know in Hong Kong they're trying to have this zero tolerance policy for C19, so that could affect any business over in the Eastern world. And it continues to have an effect on supply chains, manufacturing, clinical development activities, as well as remote work policies, quarantines, shelter in place, similar government orders. They've explained a lot in here as well, including responsibilities of family, schools, illnesses of family members. A lot of this has actually limited their workforce. And this statement here as well is something key. This is on page 33. Customers who have committed to our order minimum quantities of consumables or to purchase our Saphyr instrument have delayed these commitments. So right here, this is what we want to hear, in the earnings call as well. We want to hear, if you're going to give us excuses, tell us why. Because people are calculating, they're always calculating, they're saying, this is the minimum required purchase agreement for consumables. Why have the customers not been utilizing the machine so much? Is it because the machine's rubbish, or is it because, these kinds of reasons where everybody has C19 and customers have lots of their staff currently quarantined or, at home because they're sick or other commitments, and there's been this delay in purchasing and ordering minimum quantities of consumables. Now, moving forward, we don't want to hear excuses, we just want to see results, is the kind of attitude of a lot of our investors at the moment. It's hard to be patient when you see that your money is currently going down, the stock price is getting hammered, but we need to remember this is a long game that we're playing. We just want to see leadership, we want to see guidance, and if you look into the fine details, you'll see where all the excuses lie. You'll see where, they've kind of been hit hard, and these are the reasons why the business isn't performing as we think it should be performing, why we haven't seen, the big rush of installations and huge adoption. If we actually have 100 Saphyr systems or near their installations waiting to go, and they've created and they've, manufactured all of these finished goods, and they're set to go and they're set to be installed this year, then we could see another blowout year for bionano genomics, beating their guidance in the number of systems that they've installed. But still, we're not going to be happy until we see thousands of machines installed, thousands of systems, because that's what we want to see as investors. If they've told us the total addressable market is 10,000 machines, we want to to see 10,000 machines at least. They've said at least 10,000 machines and Saphyr systems sold. We want to see that. We want to see the best possible case scenario starting to come into play, and the only way we can see that is through numbers. Now, in terms of the kind of industry, we could see that people are currently using optical genome mapping. This guy was using it for his master's, achieving 82% overall, 82% for his dissertation. Congrats, Jack. He was actually doing his master's, his dissertation, over at UCL Cancer Institute. UCL is University College of London. This is a big prestigious university, one of the best in the world, and he was actually looking at exploring colorectal cancer, and he was using PacBio, Oxford Nanopore, and bionano genomics. UCL Cancer Institute is the hub for cancer research at the University College of London, which is one of the world's leading universities. Seeing it being utilized in different parts of the world, we had adoption in Finland, we've seen it being used in Barcelona in Spain, we've seen it being used now here in Australia, where they're test piloting programs, looking at workflows and seeing, is this Saphyr system going to save us money, going to save us time, and is it more accurate? Is it going to be able to discover, things that we haven't discovered before? And are we going to be able to save patients' lives ultimately, as well as save money? With cancer as well, there are a lot of people who are currently getting grants to actually look at, diagnosis for cancer and treatment, with governments putting money towards innovation and experimenting with the Saphyr system to replace current workflows for, blood cancers and rare disease, or it being used as a complementary device alongside sequencers. Are we going to see a lot of adoption with, governments putting their money where their mouth is and striving towards innovation in genomics? Now, right now, remember, investor sentiment and feeling, a lot of people are using, forums and are using stock tweets to voice their opinion. So I read through all of this and I just see, what's the investor sentiment at the moment for bionano genomics? The same people who are doing this are the hedge funds. So these guys are always looking at, investor confidence. And we had this kind of historic explosion right here from 50 cents all the way up to $15.69 at one point. So that was huge multiples for people. Ever since, we've been seeing, the stock price go down. But the bigger picture, the reason why I invested in bionano genomics anyway, is because I'm seeing, can this company become the beast of a company we want it to become? Is it going to be able to get these 10,000 Saphyr systems in place? Will we earn that kind of razor blade model of creating income where people are just constantly using flow cells, discovering new things with bionano genomics, it being utilized in diagnosis, or people developing their own LDTs, it being used in loads of different comorbidities? I remember seeing someone who was researching using the Saphyr system to see if he can develop a screening tool for dementia, for Alzheimer's, before you even get symptoms, so pre-symptomatic. So you guys know I'm long and strong bionano genomics, and what I'm doing is I'm continuing to accumulate little bit by little bit, because now I've lost my job. C19 is slowly becoming a way of life for us. It's not something that is going to keep us in lockdowns anymore. It looks like a lot of people are traveling, and kind of the global workforce is now returning to work, returning to the office, and we're learning to live with C19. So now that I don't have much of a big income anymore, I have no income at the moment actually, so I've been investing constantly while I had that juicy income coming in. I've got over 10,000 shares of bionano genomics. My oil play is up so much now, it's like 250% up, and that was a previous play I bought in like 2021 I think it was, or 2020. And in terms of bionano genomics, I'm looking at the long game. I'm focusing on what do I think this company is going to become, and I'm looking quarter by quarter to see the performance and what management is doing, what they're planning to do, and what events they're attending. Because all the time we're seeing everybody getting buff in the Orange Theory gym at the moment, trying to beat records in the gym, but we want to see, as investors, them smashing records for the Saphyr system. We want to see them hammering sales. We want to see all those installs. So let me know your thoughts and feelings, and if you enjoyed this video, always hit me with a thumbs up, drop me some comments, subscribe to the channel, join channel memberships if you can support me. But I think they're going to beat 240 Saphyr systems, even though they only installed 12 in the last quarter, which was a poor performance in my opinion. But I understand lots of the reasons they've been talking about too. Another issue that also came up was flow cells and the gross margins on flow cells. We want to see some nice profit. We don't want to see a lot of money wasted on the creation of flow cells. We need to get new manufacturers if they're continuing to create poor quality flow cells that need to be binned and can't be sent out to customers. So yeah, I think they're going to beat it for the end of the year, but we're just going to have to see as quarter by quarter goes past. We want to see more studies coming out. We want to see people utilizing the machine. We want to see large scale of installations. We want to see people out there, because now people are traveling again. The world is getting moving. People are still getting infected. People are still testing positive, but people are learning to live with C19. Anyways, I'm losing my voice, cowboys. But yeah, this has been like a long graded video. I just wanted to give as much value as possible in this video to tell you I'm back. I mean business, and we're here to stay. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember, none of this is financial advice. It's for entertainment only. Please hit that thumbs up, click that subscribe button, join channel memberships at any tier. I really appreciate you guys because you help me. If you join channel memberships, you're going to allow me to pay myself a little bit of money in order to pay my bills, and also pay my brother if whenever we have any more excess in order to edit videos. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. Thank you for keeping here on the channel. Even though I've been away for a while, I've been working my butt off. And I hope to catch you in the next video, baby. Mr. Invest a lot, over and out, baby.